4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, April 5th. I forgot what day it was, but I did know it was April 5th. And we're here with No Buts About It. Chus is here to my left, your right, I think, is the way it ends up showing up. I have no idea. I am in my house in Indiana. Just ended the tornado watch. No tornadoes, yes. But it
Josh
freaked my dog.
He successfully survived the tornado watch.
That's right. We also had no shows last week. Maybe one show. I don't know. We didn't have our normal shows last week.
I think we had one shows on either Monday or Tuesday, I believe. I don't remember. Because I missed
I don't know.
I wasn't able to make it to the Cardinal Roll thing, and that was on Monday. And then I don't know if we recorded on I think we recorded on Tuesday, but
you weren't able to make it to anything.
Last week I was really busy. We're coming up on the end of the wire here. I'm not graduating like you are. Okay,
I'm graduating. Our last published show was on March 28th.
Okay, so it was a little over a week.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back, and the football gods looked down upon us last week, and they said, "You know what? No news. There's going to be no news this week because the football podcast, No Buts About It, is not going to be able to record." And really, there hasn't been too much this week yet, other than former backup quarterback for the Patriots, Brian Hoyer, has been signed to a 2-year deal with the Raiders, and Danny Amendola will be an assistant coach for the Raiders as well. So the Raiders are just becoming the Patriots. Speaking of the Patriots, Mac Jones could be on the move. Apparently, according to Pro Football Talk, this dropped yesterday. Patriots been shopping around Mac Jones. Billy B and him aren't getting along. Bill Belichick, is the head coach in New England, but he's also the general manager. What do we think about this? Where do we think Mac Jones could end up? Do we think this is a good move? Do we think it's Zappy hour in New England?
So, on my end of it, I mean, I don't think it would be a bad move for New England to move on from Mac Jones. I think he's a decent quarterback, but I think with, how successful Tom Brady was in New England, I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like the New England fan base and even, Bill Belichick, they kind of just want more of like instant success rather than, gradual success. And, that's not a bad thing, but sometimes it won't give that, young guy a chance to really develop. But I haven't really seen a whole lot from Mac Jones that really makes me think that he's the guy for New England. I think he could be the guy somewhere else, or maybe he's just going to be a certified, mid quarterback until he reaches that right team and he ends up like Kirk Cousins, where Kirk Cousins is doing really well. He's just not winning anything past the first or second round with Minnesota. But I don't know where he would end up, because it's one of those things where, Lamar's on the market now. He's being shopped. Aaron Rodgers, like, granted, that trade still hasn't gone through as far as I know, and I don't think we've heard anything. So, I mean, in fairness, Aaron Rodgers might not even end up in New York. I was going to say New Jersey because they technically play in New Jersey, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's definitely really an interesting circumstance to even assume, just because, so many quarterbacks are trying to get, an opportunity to start. And I feel like if Mac Jones got traded, I don't know if he would necessarily end up starting with said team, depending on, needs and stuff, because there's, a lot of these teams that need quarterbacks and stuff. Some of them are getting really high draft picks and are going to draft quarterbacks. So would they need a Mac Jones? Maybe. I mean, it's a possibility, but I mean, it's also a possibility that they're like, yeah, we don't really want Mac Jones. It's just more contract we don't want. We can just draft 2 quarterbacks. You just really don't know. So, I mean, you could always, throw in those things where Mac Jones ends up going to Baltimore if they get rid of Lamar. If the Jets trade doesn't go through, he can end up as a Jet, or he could stay in New England. I think Zappy would be great for the Patriots, if he was given a chance, but also it's one of those things where would you rely solely on Zappy to play the entire season when we've only seen, so much of him. I mean, we've seen a decent bit where I can say, yeah, he could be good, but it's a difference of him saying he's really good compared to like a Brock Purdy, where Brock Purdy really kind of showed himself this season towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a lot to be said there. I mean, granted, New England's doing a lot of things to change their team. They always do. But, yeah, I mean, it would be quite interesting. I mean, if I was to get rid of Mac Jones and I was going to run with like Bailey Zappi, I would definitely try to get like a decent backup quarterback that's relatively experienced. I mean, he doesn't have to be an old guy or anything like that, but at least get somebody that kind of knows the game a little bit. I mean, there's plenty of backup quarterbacks that are still available out there. I mean, you just said Hoyer got signed to the Raiders. So, I mean, there's quarterbacks out there. I mean, you just got to be open to talking to their agent more or less. So it's interesting though. I can't believe Mac Jones is being shopped, but I mean, maybe it's for the better.
I don't think our quarterback carousel is done this season. We have no idea where Trey Lance is going to go. 49ers GM has said that Sam Darnold might even win the starting position over Trey Lance while Brock Purdy is healing. So Sam Darnold, who is on a 1-year contract over in San Francisco, could beat out Trey Lance for the starting job he was given. Trey Lance was given the starting job a year ago over Jimmy Garoppolo, got injured, obviously, in like the second game, I believe. Jimmy G came back out, played fairly well, ended up getting hurt. Brock Purdy goes in, Mr. Irrelevant, kind of a Cinderella story, gets them to the playoffs, gets them to the NFC Championship. He gets hurt, so they throw, I forget his name now, their fourth-string quarterback in. They put him in. He gets hurt.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So they put Brock Purdy back in, and Brock Purdy can't throw the ball, but he's playing, and now they just don't know what to do over in San Francisco. They've got a ton of good quarterbacks, may trade Trey Lance away. They traded up for Trey Lance, though.
Yeah, they
the
did.
same draft as Mac Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I found this CBS Sports article by Cody Benjamin where he talks about where he thinks Mac Jones could land. He gives 5 teams. The Broncos, because Sean Payton, who's the new head coach for the Broncos, has already said that Jarrett Stidham, who was with the Patriots, he was drafted by the Patriots in 2019, he may get some starting reps if Russell Wilson doesn't pan out. So that could be interesting. Buccaneers, they're down there with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. So not necessarily a great quarterback room when you're coming off of Tom Brady, another former Patriot. So the Patriots are linked to all these teams except for the third and second team. Now it's when we get to teams that aren't as linked. Oh, actually, the Commanders are. I forgot about this. Mm-hmm. The Commanders are the third team, and they just signed Jacoby Brissett, who was the former third-string quarterback for the New England Patriots during the Deflategate season. And he ended up playing when Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt then. So they just have Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. Could Mac Jones go over there? Number 2, Titans. Ryan Tannehill. He is been okay. He's getting older. He hasn't really done a whole lot. Their passing game needs some revitalization. And also, they drafted Malik Willis, who was supposed to be this big, huge star. And I said I didn't see it. He played. He ended up getting benched for Josh Dobbs.
Yeah. Steelers backup that never ended up playing ever.
Who's now with the Browns, I believe. Yeah. I think he went back to the Browns. And then the Raiders are the number 1 team. Josh McDaniels is just going to rebuild the Patriots quarterback room. He's probably going to bring in Tom Brady as a quarterback coach at this point. He's just signing everyone.
Yeah. I actually, no, continue your thought because I want to go on a different thought after this.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting. We have a lot of really good quarterbacks that are still technically out there. I mean, Trey Lance was a top 3 pick. I personally have never been a huge fan of that pick. Not necessarily anything against Trey Lance. I just don't think that it was a smart move by the 49ers, and then they got bailed out by Brock Purdy. But Trey Lance is out there. You've got Mac Jones now is out there. Lamar Jackson has said he's not going to play for the Ravens. He doesn't want to play for the Ravens. He said he loves the fan base, but he feels like he got screwed over, and he wants to go help another team win a Super Bowl. Potentially the Indianapolis Colts. We have another video about him potentially going to the Indianapolis Colts on our channel. And then Aaron Rodgers. What's happening with that? We don't know. Aaron Rodgers
There was just that big talk about it, in late February or early March. So much time has passed since then, and just nothing happened. I mean, you can assume that something has happened, but since nothing has been officially reported, he's not. He's still a Packer, and it's really interesting what's going on over there. I mean, it's just like you said. I don't think the quarterback carousel is anywhere close to being over. I feel like it's just going to continue. All these quarterbacks just keep moving around, and it's kind of crazy because even 10 or 15 years ago, I feel like quarterbacks weren't switching as much as they are nowadays. I feel like a lot more openness of trading. I feel like the trade deadline has become a lot bigger key than it had been in years past. I feel like although some players had been traded, I know that I talked to some people way back when they used to watch football when they were younger and stuff back in the 80s and whatnot, and they all said trades weren't that big of a thing, and so I think that it's definitely interesting to see how far trades have come to the point where literally quarterbacks will just demand trades and want traded all the time and cut, and just the quarterbacks are all over the place. You really, it's just no one is safe anymore with these quarterbacks. It's oh yeah, you have Lamar Jackson, he's your franchise now all of a sudden in 2023. Who's your franchise now? And you're wait, what about Lamar Jackson? What happened there? It's just, it's kind of crazy, but I mean,
and the thing with Aaron Rodgers is I would be interested to see if a trade doesn't go through. Jets fans have assumed Aaron Rodgers is going to be their starting quarterback. Packers fans have assumed Jordan Love is going to be their starting quarterback. And I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would play for the Packers. And they still owe him a bunch of money. They're not going to bench him on that, I don't think. I think he's owed $50 million a year or something like that, guaranteed. And so I don't think they'd bench him, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there and play his hardest for a team that he said, I came out of the dark room 90% retiring, and they called me and said, hey, we're moving on from you. And that made him mad, and then he wanted to go out and play.
Yeah, I mean, I think what would end up happening is I feel like it's kind of tough, though, because, obviously, I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers would retire at that point, you would think, because he said that he wants to play for the Jets. And I'm pretty sure he said he only wanted to play for the Jets. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if we're going to talk about the Jets, I mean, it's just one of those things where Aaron Rodgers, if he doesn't end up playing with the Jets, is there really another team that would want to really take on Aaron Rodgers for a year or two or however many years left he plays? And he already had self-doubts about playing again. And the only reason he wanted to play was he was fueled by that, hey, we're moving on from you type thing. But if nobody wants him, I mean, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, it's just like when, Phillip Rivers, contacted San Francisco and what was it, Miami about starting, or if they need a quarterback, he would come back and play, and they just kind of fluffed them off as nothing. Hey, if you're not wanted, it has nothing to do with the player or what they're looking. It has nothing to do with even the person you are or the type of quarterback you were. It's just if they're not looking for your style or your playing type, they may just not want you. And if none of the 31 other teams or 30 teams, let's just say Jets and Packers are out of the question, as these 30 other teams might not be looking for an Aaron Rodgers, skill set. So I don't think you leave Aaron Rodgers out there. Aaron Rodgers is different than Phillip Rivers. If Aaron Rodgers is out there in the free agency and you don't go after him and you're a quarterback needy team, I mean, come on. Yeah, but also some of these teams are going with young guys. I mean, not every team wants to go with the old guy. And the thing is also would Houston want to take up Aaron Rodgers' contract just because, oh yeah, we're going to draft, let's say they draft Bryce Young. It's oh yeah, we're going to have Bryce Young and we still have Davis Mills, but we're going to just pick up Aaron Rodgers just for the giggles. It's like, I mean, it's just some of it just doesn't make sense. Like some of these teams don't want to pick him up just because he's older. I mean, there's going to be some teams that would want him, yes, but like would they? It would be almost. It could be a similar situation as the Packers, where he may end up having to play on the water boy, playing on the water boy position, just sitting on the bench in case Jordan Love or if he ends up playing for another team just doesn't end up working out for them. If a Bryce Young doesn't play good or something, and then Aaron Rodgers has to fulfill the destiny for Houston. But I mean, yes, you don't want to leave Aaron Rodgers out there, but I mean, it really, if Aaron Rodgers is tough to trade with, and even if they cut him, he may not be the easiest to sign a contract with either. I mean, we don't know Aaron Rodgers behind the scenes, really. We only know what we see of him in person on TV and from what we hear in news reports. So,
well, if they cut him, the Jets are going to sign him.
Well,
Easy.
yeah, at that point, yeah.
The Jets aren't going to be like, the Jets aren't going to leave Aaron Rodgers as a free agent and then be like, oh yeah, Zach Wilson, yeah, that's the guy we're running with.
I guess that, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, at that point, if Green Bay held him hostage, he would just retire, I think. Because, I mean, he's not going to play if he's not going to start. So, but, I don't know. I guess it's just wait and see on an Aaron Rodgers. So.
Okay.
But.
What was your thing?
But you were talking about Mac Jones, right? We were talking about Mac Jones, and you said that, what was it, Trey Lance? They both came out of the same draft, correct?
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, so I kind of want to talk about this briefly. What do you think of the quarterbacks that were drafted in that year? Because the only one that really sticks to mind is Trevor Lawrence, but looking at this was also the year of Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. You had Justin
Chase.
Well, we're talking quarterbacks. I mean, yeah, Kyle Pitts and Micah Parsons too, but
Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, Kyle Trask,
and Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what your thoughts were on this quarterback class.
Okay, so my thoughts on
just based on that, because yeah, like you said, Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond.
Okay, so Trevor Lawrence obviously was supposed to be Jesus Christ for the Jaguars, and he wasn't his first year, but he was in a terrible situation. He really kind of popped off last year, got him to the playoffs, much better situation. So I'd say give him another year as long as he keeps improving. Zach Wilson, he's just kind of been a PR nightmare. He isn't living up to the play of being a PR nightmare. He's kind of what I think someone like Anthony Richardson is going to end up being, had an amazing combine, and everyone freaked out about him because of the combine. There's one particular throw he made where he was off balance and it was 40 yards or so and landed it. And then everyone freaked out and was like, oh my gosh, this kid from BYU, he's the next big thing. And he shot up the draft board. Yeah, Zach Wilson. And we've seen how that went. Trey Lance, third. I've kind of talked about that already, why I don't like that. I think the 49ers got bailed out on that one. Justin Fields, he is number 11 at the Bears. He's never been in a good situation, but he has kind of figured it out somewhat. Kind of. I mean, he's improved from his rookie year, so he's another one where
that's why I said kind of, but it's also because they're switching around wide receivers and doing dumb stuff over in Chicago constantly. I just don't understand why they can have a really good team and then just go back to the bottom of the division again. Right. I just don't understand what happened, but continue.
We got Mac Jones, who was picked 15th overall. So, I mean, let's think about that. Mac Jones wasn't even a top guy in this draft. He was an Alabama quarterback. He fell to 15th. A lot of people had him as offensive rookie of the year that season until things started getting serious, until about December when you got to play your best football. And, then he kind of started slipping. It started getting cold. He had never played a cold weather game until he got to New England. when that's the case, New England is not the place to go. So for that, I don't know if he ever really got over that, if he's figured that out, because cold weather footballs feel way different than warm weather footballs. They hurt a lot more. And Mac Jones, Patriots fans are going to kill me James is going to kill me for this. I just think he's so average. I don't think he would be as good in any other system. I mean, he's got a Hall of Fame coach, and he's arguing with his Hall of Fame coach, and he hasn't earned the right to argue with his Hall of Fame coach. And I've heard Patriots fans be like, well, Brady didn't get along with Bill Belichick either. Well, Tom Brady is Tom Brady, not Mac Jones. Tom Brady wasn't in his third season and had no Super Bowls and only had one playoff appearance. Tom Brady, by his third season, I think had already played in one Super Bowl. I'd have to go back and check the numbers, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, he had really good. He was a really good quarterback throughout his tenure, even at the beginning. Yeah,
Tom Brady's Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick wasn't yet Bill Belichick either. But Kyle Trask, he never really played, out of Florida, back up to Tom Brady with the Buccaneers. He was 64th overall. Are
they running with him this year?
Nah, they running with Baker. They're letting Baker.
Yeah, I forgot that Baker won in Tampa. Yeah.
We went from Tampa Brady to Tampa Baker.
Yeah, Tampa Baker.
Kellen Mond, I believe he got cut. He was picked 66th by the Vikings. I could be wrong, though.
Kellen Mond
is he still on the Vikings?
He's a Brown.
Kellen Mond is a Brown now. Okay,
yeah, he plays for the Browns.
Well, that tells you what you need to know.
Yeah.
Then the last quarterback of that draft was Davis Mills. He was 67th overall to the Texans. He's been starting. This is a guy that I was wrong about. I really thought he was going to have a great season last year, comparatively. I thought that he was a very high IQ guy. I liked his football play. He just didn't do it last year. It was not good. I have a whole video or a whole podcast episode way back at the beginning when I was still doing the show by myself, where I talk about how I thought Davis Mills was going to pop off. He didn't. So that's going to cancel out me being right about Malik Willis.
And you have one quarterback you are missing. At least I know there's two. There's actually two that you're missing, but
who am I missing?
The one is is not mystery relevant, but he is kind of irrelevant. Ian Book, who is now
the Saints?
he was drafted by the Saints, and then one that we've talked about before, Sam Ehlinger.
Sam Ehlinger was. Oh, he was. You're right.
Mm-hmm. He was one of the last quarterbacks in that draft.
I had him in the 2022 draft. Well, Sam Ehlinger did not play well, and so yeah. And then Ian Book was a Notre Dame quarterback, and that's all you need to know because they haven't had a good quarterback out of Notre Dame since Joe Montana.
Nothing. So. Yeah, Notre Dame has not produced good quarterbacks in the last 10 years or whatever, 15 years.
10 years? I said Joe Montana.
I know, but even then, I mean, they've developed some decent ones, but nothing to the point where we're like, holy crap, I mean, because there's been teams that have produced decent quarterbacks and nothing's happened with them. It's like, oh yeah, they got drafted. I mean, you think about these backup quarterbacks and they're just decent, or they never get the chance to start anyway, and they're just backups forever. So you can't really judge them based off of, but they're never starter material. Yes,
I did pretty well though, considering
you named almost all of them. The only reason I remember, Sam Ehlinger, I remember from that draft, but Ian Book, I don't even freaking remember how I remembered Ian Book. It's a
Saints legend.
Saints legend Ian Book, who is now apparently an Eagle. Who I didn't even know that. So I guess he's a practice squad Eagle because it's not like he's.
Someone needed to replace Gardner.
Yeah, Ian Book. Yeah.
Are you ready to get to the drafts?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I accidentally shared it earlier.
Did you really?
I didn't share the draft. I accidentally hit the share screen earlier. So I'm gonna go. Let's see. We'll do your Steelers mock draft first. And then we'll do the Bengals. We'll do the Steelers and then the Bengals. So this is your Steelers mock draft.
Yes.
Tell me about the Steelers and why you did this.
Okay. So at the top, just ignore the Ryan Hayes.
Okay.
That was for my Cardinals one that I did. So Kalijah Kancey. So I made this about a week or two ago. But I picked Kalijah Kancey, 17th overall. Might be a little bit of a stretch because I know that there's a Clemson guy, I believe, that also the Steelers were looking at. There's a lot of players that the Steelers have been, eyeing up. I kind of wanted to stay away from a cornerback just because we haven't had the best luck with cornerbacks in the first round, like straight up first round. 32nd pick is technically a second round pick, but it's still technically a first round pick. But I'll get into the cornerback thing in a minute. But I kind of want to stay away from cornerbacks. I kind of wanted to go with a lineman. I feel like we could use some line help, especially somebody. Go ahead. What?
Do you want to explain to people why that's the case? The 32nd pick.
Oh yeah. So we made a trade with Chicago and we got that pick. But basically what happened was Miami had to forfeit their pick for this year because of their weird scandal that went on with that their one coach that they had down there that I can't think of right now that is now working for Minnesota, I believe now. He's a coordinator.
Flores?
Yeah, Brian Flores. That's who it was. Yeah, Brian Flores. Yeah, there's that whole thing with Brian Flores, and I believe that caused them to forfeit their first round pick this year. So with that being said,
they also had tampering with Brady.
Yeah, so there was a lot that happened down there. So with that being said, they had to forfeit that pick, and the Steelers traded for a second round pick from Chicago in exchange for Chase Claypool. And since Miami missed out on their first round pick and Chicago got the first overall pick, they technically would have been 32nd or 33rd if Miami was there. And now that's 32. So no, Miami and Chicago doesn't have a pick in the first two rounds now. But they also actually, do they? I don't remember if they got anything from that trade with the Panthers or what.
I can't remember. But Deontay Banks, cornerback.
Yeah, but Kalijah Kancey. I didn't finish my Kalijah Kancey thing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Kalijah Kancey, defensive lineman. He played for Pitt. I think he's solid. They've been going with their Pitt boys. They like their, Steelers always like to monitor their pick boys. So I feel like the defensive line help could help. But I think the reason they picked him was just for the Pitt aspect of it. So never want to pass up on a Pitt player if you can get them because sometimes they can end up being legends. But Deontay Banks, I think he's a solid cornerback out of Maryland. I wanted to take a cornerback. I think we could definitely use some cornerback help. Granted, I know that we just got, some help on the cornerback position. I know we just picked up Peterson and there's a lot of, help that's going on in that situation. But I think that a cornerback would obviously be very helpful for the Steelers, just kind of adding depth, and who knows what Deontay Banks could turn into. But he looks really good on paper. Hoping for him to come here, So I think that would be very, very solid of a pick. And then my next pick would be Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. I feel like he is, I wouldn't say necessarily like completely like underrated per se, but I definitely think that he's definitely going to be one of those picks that kind of reminds me of like a defensive type George Pickens, where if the Steelers were to draft him, he might actually make a lot more noise than just like I've never heard of this guy, but he played really well. And he looks very good in video footage too. So I really think Drew Sanders would be just a solid linebacker for the Steelers. I think he would develop into a really good player. Now, my next pick, I've talked about him a ton, but hear me out. Okay. Hear me out. Jordan Battle, safety, Alabama. And I figured, we would help out the defense. Obviously, most of these picks are defense guys, but I think Jordan Battle would be a great safety that would play with Minka, with the Alabama boys and stuff like that. And I know they never played together, but it's still, Minka, Alabama, Jordan Battle out of Alabama. But also we lost Edmonds. I'm pretty sure we also had lost Allen. So we're kind of struggling right now with safeties. So I think Jordan Battle would be kind of a pretty decent replacement. And I think he can develop. He might take a little bit of time to develop, but I think he'll be a strong guy out there. As a strong safety. I'm pretty sure he's played both positions. So I think, he would be really good because, he's swapped with Branch a lot. So, but I think that, I think Battle's a solid guy, and no, it's not my bias. I think that I truly think that Jordan Battle would be a solid Steelers pick. Now, granted, do I think he's going to end up with the Steelers? Probably not, because they're probably going to pick something. I don't know what the heck they're going to do, but this is what I think would be beneficial for them, because I think Jordan Battle might end up being a sleeper pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
For those of you who don't know, Chus has been hyping up Jordan Battle for like the last 3 years.
Yes, I have a Jordan Battle Seattle Seahawks shirt because of Madden. So
Yes.
I drafted him in Madden, and he was my all-star free safety. So he got a 102-yard pick six in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So he was crazy. And that was the start of the Jordan Battle era for me.
Too bad he'll never do that for the Steelers.
Well, listen, okay. There's just so many crazy connections with it. I mean, Josh, we have a friend that literally went to school with him.
Okay,
So,
okay.
I mean, it kind of added more to that hype. So, I'm very big on this guy. 5th round, wide receiver help, Parker Washington. We like to draft our wide receivers a little later on. I mean, sometimes we like to draft them a little earlier, but I think, with the defense, I think we need to focus a little bit on defense. I didn't end up getting a tackle, as you can see, in my draft at all, which might be a little bit of a flaw in my thing. But I think that, with what we're building right now, with the tackles and stuff, I don't know necessarily if they would want to go out and draft a tackle, when I think defense could really be great to just build that strong defense, because in the end, defense does win championships. So, but going on to Parker Washington, drafting wide receiver late, Steelers have been looking at Parker Washington, Penn State guy. He's pretty solid wide receiver. I think that he'd be a good benefit for the team, and I think that he could develop into a really good player. Haven't seen a whole lot from him. Totally, I haven't watched a lot of his tape, but I think that he could be pretty solid, and the Steelers have already been looking at him. DJ Johnson, edge, just kind of adding depth. I mean, he's an Oregon guy. I mean, I feel like he could be really good. Definitely could use the edge help for the Steelers. And then lastly, I just put this on here because I've seen a lot of Steelers mocks have Stetson Bennett in it. So I just figured, why not throw Stetson Bennett in there? He would end up replacing Mason Rudolph, and he would end up backing up Mitchell Trubisky until Mitchell Trubisky would go off of his contract, and then Stetson Bennett and Kenny would be running it. The only problem I do have with my own personal pick with this is the conflict with it. If Kenny Pickett's not doing good and the Steelers fans get mad, they're going to be like, put Stetson Bennett in. He's actually won natties and blah, 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 blah. So it might cause friction with fan bases and stuff like that. And I don't know how it would end up. But, I mean, if Kenny Pickett ended up not doing that well over the next couple of years, Stetson Bennett might end up being an older quarterback, but he ended up might being a solid late round pick that you'd never really thought. Now, I think one thing I'd personally change for mine is I would probably draft a tackle somewhere, probably in the later rounds, maybe instead of DJ Johnson, maybe just a tackle, just kind of like a filler, or maybe even a little further up. But or maybe even try to get one in the 17th pick instead of Kalijah Kancey. But
I'm gonna love my draft.
Yeah, but Deontay Banks, Drew Sanders, Jordan Battle, Parker Washington's. I think I'm very content with those. But yeah, so that's my Steelers one. So you want to show me yours, or do you want to show the Bengals one?
I'll show my Steelers one. Kalijah Kancey is a guy that the Bengals have also been looking at as well. So I'm somewhat familiar with him. Let me see here. My Steelers mock. Let's see here. I've got 4. For some reason, I only did 4 rounds. So you only get to see 4 rounds.
Well, because you didn't you do a trade or something?
Yeah, I got bored and I traded. That's what happened. But anyway, safety, I took Brian Branch from Alabama.
Yeah, that's also somebody that's been bouncing around the Steelers.
So not necessarily your boy Jordan Battle, but Brian Branch. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Someone Bengals have kind of maybe thought about him, but they didn't really think he would be there, so it wasn't serious. 2nd round, your 32nd pick. 2nd round, 1st round pick. DeJuan Jones, tackle. He's a 1st round, 2nd round guy. Another guy that the Bengals are looking at. If he's somehow there when we need him. My dad is calling me on my watch. Then I took a linebacker for depth, like you said.
Yeah.
I can't say that. Henley.
Henley, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's pretty solid too.
Okay.
The way that my things have been falling, it was a lot of the Arkansas guy. So
Cornerback, I took Garrett Williams. I took a late round cornerback, like you said. And then I took a safety for depth, Ronnie Hickman, who I've also heard a lot of good things about. Maybe drafted him a little bit early, but I think he'll be good depth. Maybe Minka's getting a little bit older as well, kind of.
He is, yeah. So it
So
might be good to have the depth. I actually agree with that a lot, just because, as I said, we lost Edmonds, and I'm pretty sure we also lost Marcus Allen. I would have to fact check myself on that, but we definitely would need safety help. So that might actually be good to have, Branch and Hickman, because, if Branch is not doing good, or if Branch is doing good and he needs a break, or Minka needs a break, it might be good to throw in Hickman. So,
and then I traded, like I said, I got bored. So I traded your 7th round picks and next year's round 2 for Tyler Lockett. So I had to kind of ruin the Steelers somehow. I think Tyler Lockett's a good veteran presence in the locker room, though. I don't really.
So you don't know what happened in the 5th and 6th rounds?
No, I don't.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know what happened. But
interesting. But okay. Lockett would be interesting. I don't know if the Steelers would go that route, but it would definitely be interesting on my end to see, just because, Deontay Johnson's going to be up this year in contract. I don't know if we're going to end up re-signing him. I think Pickens is going to be our wide receiver 1, but also it's not like we have any, like, we have some decent wide receivers on like 3, 4, and 5, and even 6, but like, it's not like they're like, oh yeah, this guy's going to be a stud or something like that. I mean,
well, Lockett's just a veteran presence, I think, that you can.
Yeah, but I think he can also be a solid receiver too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You have him play slot or something. I think he could be really good.
Yep. So, and then I'll pull up your Bengals one.
Yeah. So
see here.
Remember, me and you both, we don't know much about each other's teams. I'm just basing it a lot off of what they told me that I should draft, position wise, and what you.
This isn't terrible.
Yeah, what you had said. So I'm gonna pull it up on my phone so I can kind of see it better. But basically, I drafted Anton Harrison, tackle, because you always complain about how, we need O-line help or whatever, and I think that you're like, Joe Burrow will never be touched again.
He never getting sacked again.
Yeah, because of them signing that one guy, Orlando Brown or whatever. And I think adding Anton Harrison might be really good too, just because then at that point, if he ends up developing really good, you guys are going to have like an unstoppable O-line. I ended up getting DJ Turner for you, cornerback. So think you guys could use some cornerback help a little bit there. And not that your cornerbacks are bad, just never hurts. I put safety Chris Smith the second, Georgia guy. I think for you, with the loss of Jesse Bates, and I know you guys have since replaced him, I believe, if I'm not wrong, you guys have replaced Jesse Bates. I think Chris Smith would be a good guy that if your safety that you just signed doesn't work out, I think he could be really good. So in the 4th round, I would have went with Abanikanda had I had known where he was going to fall, but I didn't really know where Israel Abanikanda would have fallen. So he ended up falling in the 5th round, but I ended up picking for you guys Dwayne McBride, running back for UAB, who I feel like, although UAB isn't a school that's talked about a lot because it's UAB. I mean, it's nothing against UAB, but like it's not a school that a lot of teams talk about just because they're just kind of around. I mean, it just happens. I mean, a lot of teams are like that, but I only knew about UAB because of March Madness last year. But UAB, Dwayne McBride had pretty good stats this year, and I think he would be a decent backup running back. I don't really know what you guys are doing with the Joe Mixon thing and all that. I'm guessing you guys are holding on to him and stuff. And so I think McBride might be a really good solid RB2, and he has potential. So, and then I picked the tight end, Will Mallory. I mean, he's just he played for Miami. I kind of watched him play in the ACC, so I kind of know what he's about. He's did you hear that voice crack? Yeah. Chus, I guess, is having a voice change again. But I picked Will Mallory because I feel like he would be a definitely a decent tight end for you guys. I don't know if he'd be the saving grace tight end, but I definitely think he would help for you guys. Definitely think you guys could use him as depth. I picked Braden Daniels, kind of another like lineman. You never know. Linemen's, they get hurt and stuff. You never know. And then last pick, I picked a wide receiver. Not that you guys really need one, but he could develop as a better wide receiver for you in case you lose Boyd, or, if you can't end up signing Higgins or something like that. I don't know how to say his name, but he played for Princeton and he had pretty decent numbers. So, and if I'm not wrong, he is from Honolulu, Hawaii. So that's pretty cool.
Well,
so I think he would be a solid wide receiver for you guys to hopefully develop. And he would be a late round pick. You wouldn't even have to really draft him real early on.
dude, Higgins changed his number. He's here to stay.
Hey, I'm not saying Higgins, but
Higgins,
I know eventually at some point I don't think Tyler Boyd is going to end up staying. Not because he wouldn't want to. It's just as time moves on, you might not be able to afford him. You might be, wanting to retire. You may want too much money for what other powerhouse teams or players you have. So, let's look at yours. What do you have going?
So let's see here. No, I don't want. Okay. So I took a tackle in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I made this after the Irv Smith Jr. signing. So tight end wasn't necessarily as big of a priority anymore. I'd still like to see Michael Mayer in the first round if we can, but I couldn't get him. Luke Whippler, center for the Bengals. He would become a depth piece for Ted Karras, and I think that could be good. He was also a guy I drafted for the Cardinals, and I like him. Jamie Robinson, this is a guy that Joe from the Cardinal Rule was kind of spotlighting while I was on the show, and he kind of sold me on him. I was like, this guy could actually be good if we can get him in a late round. We did. He fell to the third round. Dax Hill, like I've said, I'm not completely sold on him. Hopefully he does well. And then Nick Scott, who we got from the Rams, he's also not a guy I'm completely sold on because, well, he hasn't really played for the Bengals yet, but we'll see. So getting some safety depth is going to be big. Keandre Coburn from Texas, defensive line, interior. I forget words. He's a guy who is another depth piece for now. DJ Reader has been great, but DJ Reader is also kind of older, and he is coming up on a contract extension in like 1 or 2 years. So he might either be walking or he might just get hurt, and we need a depth piece. So that was kind of why I drafted him. Then Davis Allen, he'd be a backup tight end to Irv Smith. But he's there, he fell, and I think that would be a good pickup for the Bengals to just have more tight ends than just Irv Smith and Devin Asiasi. But quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, when I get some new blood in the quarterback room to compete for the backup position with Brandon Allen. He's a Purdue boy. I believe he is the highest rated backup quarterback in this draft. So not Will Levis or any of those guys, but I don't know, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. But late round quarterback, he's the highest rated one that I'm aware of. And so he's going to come down to Cincinnati, compete with Brandon Allen for the backup position. We'll see what happens. And then can never have too much O-line depth. Got to have that O-line guy there to protect Joey B, because Joey B's never getting touched again. And so I picked up Richard from Florida. I'm not going to attempt to say his last name. Just a nice little depth piece. And then, of course, I had to do this beautiful trade. I don't know how I got it 1-for-1, but it happened. Austin Eckler is coming to Cincinnati. He's going to replace Samaje Perine, who is now a Denver Bronco. And we're going to have Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon in the backfield. It's going to be insane. Jonah Williams gets what he wants. He gets traded because he doesn't want to be a right tackle. That's okay. We got DeJuan Jones now, and DeJuan Jones is going to play right tackle. So we've got it all figured out, man. This is, if those two things happen, mwah,
Yes.
perfect draft.
I hope for you.
That's actually all I need to happen is that trade. If that trade happens, chef's kiss.
I don't think it'll be a 1-for-1. I think there's going to be some draft picks in there. I from one or the other team. I think it might not be this year, but it might be like a 6th round 2024 pick or something. Just because you know how those trades end up being. They never end up being simple like that anymore. It's just, I wish they would, but they're never.
Well, Austin Eckler's just this undrafted guy who, like, he wasn't even drafted in 2017. The Chargers gave him a chance. Jonah Williams is a former first-round pick. We're losing on this.
I guess, yeah, you're losing a lot from this. So, in fact, they should give you 3 first-round picks.
They should, really.
With Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
In exchange for you losing out on this first-round talent tackle.
I'm being nice.
Yeah, that's very considerate of you, Josh. You know, honestly, I think you should be the GM of the Bengals coming up. Josh Butts for GM for the Bengals in 2036.
What's his name? Normally I can tell it off the top of my head because it's a funny name. Duke Tobin. Duke Tobin's one of those. He can run for mayor of Cincinnati and probably win. Him and Elizabeth Blackburn and Joe Burrow. Those 3 could all win unanimously in Cincinnati. But I think that's is that it? That all we got for today's show?
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about my Cardinals mock draft that I never got to do on the next show.
Yeah, on the next show.
On the next show
that Joe is on, maybe, or something. Did you get your merch yet? I know that you ordered some merch.
You know, I actually have not gotten it yet, but I did get an email earlier this week that it did ship. So it will be coming. I think it's expected to come either tomorrow or Friday. So Thursday or Friday. I mean, with it being a holiday this weekend, might take a little longer. But yeah, I think I even got a sale on it. I think it was like 20% off right now. So it was a pretty good deal. So I'm excited for wearing my stuff. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm going to let you be surprised on what I get. I'm going to wear it on the show.
I can see what you ordered.
Well, okay. No. Well, yeah, I'm just going to appear with it on one day, okay. And you're going to be like, "Whoa, no way!"
I won't say what you ordered, but I know what you ordered.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So go get the merch because the merch is cool. The merch is fun. I designed the merch. We're getting orders. Some people are still ordering the merch. So if you are one of those people, thank you. Also, Discord randomly opened. But if you're one of those people who has ordered merch, thank you. I appreciate it because
we appreciate it. It goes a long way.
It helps us fund the show. And on that note, thank you for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. We can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube, which if you are watching this video, you are on YouTube already. Just go down there and hit subscribe. We can be found on Spotify. So if you're only listening to the show, that's great. That's helpful. But you can also see us on YouTube. If you're on Apple Podcasts, cool. Sorry, Spotify's better. Our social media pages are NoButts_show on Instagram and NoButtsShow on TikTok. My Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001. And if you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2. That's the number 2. For those of you on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I'm holding up the number 2. So is Chus. The number 2 at gmail.com. Finally, our spread shop where you can get all this cool merch is in the description. Check it out. Once again, if you enjoyed today's show, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, go do something nice for someone.